The giant blue face filled the entire wall of the United Nations building. It had no eyes, just dark holes where eyes should be. Its mouth was a straight line that didn't move when it spoke. The alien's voice came from speakers all around the room, making everyone's chest shake with each word. Admiral Jack Morrison stood very still at the front of the room. He had gray hair and deep lines on his face from 40 years in the military. His uniform was perfect, every button shining, every medal straight. He watched the alien face without blinking. Beside him stood Dr. Lisa Chang, a small woman with black hair pulled back tight. She held a computer tablet and her fingers moved fast across the screen, writing numbers and symbols that most people wouldn't understand. The alien was Supreme Chancellor Zix Theta of the Galactic Council. Behind the huge blue face, 12 other aliens stood in a half circle. Each one looked different. One was made of crystal that caught the light. Another looked like a giant spider with too many legs. A third seemed to be made of smoke that kept changing shape. "Humans of Earth," the Chancellor said. The voice was cold and felt like winter wind. "You have been watched. You have been measured. You have been found too dangerous to exist without control." 3,000 people sat in the assembly hall. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists from every country on Earth. Nobody moved. Nobody whispered. They all stared at the alien face that had appeared without warning 10 minutes ago. "Your species fights itself," the Chancellor continued. "You have had 7,000 wars in your recorded history. You poison your own air. You destroy your own forests. You cannot even agree on simple truths. A species this chaotic cannot be allowed to spread into space." Admiral Morrison's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Dr. Chang stopped typing for a moment, then started again even faster. "The Galactic Council has made its decision. You have two choices. First choice, surrender completely. Give up all weapons. Accept Council rule. Your people will serve the greater galaxy as workers. Your planet's resources will be shared fairly among worthy species. You will have peace." The spider-like alien stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice sounded like breaking glass. "Second choice, refuse our generous offer. Face the erasure protocol. Your sun will be collapsed. Your planet will be torn apart atom by atom. Your species will be forgotten. No trace of humanity will remain in the universe." President Emma Washington sat in the front row. She was a tall woman with brown skin and silver hair. She had won the election by the biggest margin in American history. Now she gripped the arms of her chair so hard her knuckles turned white, but her face stayed calm. "You have 24 Earth hours to decide," the Chancellor said. "We have 800 ships surrounding your solar system. Your 37 primitive vessels are already targeted. Your nuclear weapons are useless in space. Your population of 8 billion cannot fight the combined might of 12 advanced civilizations." The crystal alien made a sound like wind chimes. "We have conquered 400 worlds. Most surrender immediately when they see our power. The few who fight last less than one of your hours. Be wise, humans. Choose life, even if it means servitude." Dr. Chang leaned close to Admiral Morrison and whispered something. He nodded slightly but kept his eyes on the aliens. The smoke alien drifted forward. Its voice was like whispers from 100 mouths at once. "We know you have tried to hide some of your technology. We see your underground bases. We detect your submarine fleets. We have scanned your moon colonies. None of it matters. Our technology is 10,000 years ahead of yours." "To show our power," the Chancellor said, "observe." The wall screen changed. It showed the moon, gray and familiar in the black of space. Then a bright red beam shot from somewhere off-screen. It hit the moon's surface. A crater the size of Texas appeared instantly, glowing orange from the heat. Gasps filled the room. Someone in the back started crying. "That was our smallest weapon," the Chancellor said. "Fired at 1% power. Imagine what we could do to Earth." Admiral Morrison finally stepped forward. He pressed a button on the podium and spoke into the microphone. His voice was steady and strong. "Supreme Chancellor, the people of Earth have heard your message. We need time to discuss your terms." 24 hours, the Chancellor repeated. "No more, no less. If you attempt to attack our ships, we will consider it your answer. If you try to flee the planet, we will consider it your answer. Your only choices are surrender or destruction." The giant blue face stared at them for another moment. Then the screen went black. For 5 seconds, nobody moved. The silence was so complete you could hear hearts beating. Then Admiral Morrison started to laugh. It started as a small chuckle. Then it grew louder. Soon he was laughing so hard he had to hold the podium for support. Everyone stared at him. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. A few looked worried that the stress had broken his mind. "Admiral Morrison!" President Washington stood up. "This is not the time for you," he held up his hand, still laughing. "I'm sorry, Madam President. It's just 24 hours. They're giving us 24 whole hours," Dr. Chang smiled. It was a small smile, but her eyes sparkled with something that looked like excitement. "Admiral Morrison is correct. 24 hours is generous." The French president stood up, his face red with anger. "Generous? They just threatened to destroy our entire planet. They put a hole in the moon." "Yes," Dr. Chang said, putting down her tablet. "They did, and they think that scares us." She looked around the room. "They think we have 37 ships. They think we only have nuclear weapons. They think our population of 8 billion is small." "It is small," the Russian premier said. "They claim to rule 400 worlds." Admiral Morrison had stopped laughing. Now he stood straight, hands behind his back. "Director Chen, are you watching?" A new voice came from the speakers. It belonged to Danny Chen, the head of Earth's real space defense program. "Yes, Admiral. We saw everything. How long do you need?" 6 hours if we rush. 8 if we want to do it clean. You have 4. I want everything ready in 4 hours. "Yes, sir." President Washington walked to the podium. "Admiral, what are you talking about? What can we do in 4 hours that will stop 800 alien ships?" Morrison looked at her, then at the crowd of world leaders. "Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, there's something you need to know. Earth has been preparing for this day for 30 years. Ever since we detected the first Council probe entering our system." Confusion spread across faces like a wave. Dr. Chang connected her tablet to the main screen. "What you're about to see is classified beyond top secret. Only 40 people on Earth knew about this until today." The screen showed Earth from space. It looked normal. Blue oceans, white clouds, brown and green continents. "This is Earth as the Council sees it," Chang said. She pressed her tablet. "This is Earth as it really is." The image changed. Suddenly there were thousands of tiny lights orbiting the planet. Invisible satellites. Hidden space stations. Cloaked defense platforms. "We let them see what we wanted them to see," Morrison said. "Old rockets. Outdated space stations. Primitive technology." He smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant smile. "They think they know us. They think we're just another primitive species to conquer." The British Prime Minister stood up slowly. "Are you saying we've been lying to everyone? Even our own people?" "Not lying," President Washington said, understanding spreading across her face. "Preparing. My God, you've been preparing." Morrison nodded. "Every nation's black budget. Every secret project. Every dollar that went missing from defense spending. It all went to this." He looked at the alien leaders frozen on the screen. "They gave us 24 hours because they think we need time to argue among ourselves. To panic, to despair. What do we actually need the time for?" someone called out. Dr. Chang's smile grew wider. "To get our people to safety bunkers. The Council is about to learn that humans don't just survive on a death world. We thrive on it, and we've spent 30 years turning that evolutionary advantage into weapons they can't even imagine." The room erupted in voices. Questions, shouts, demands for explanations. Admiral Morrison raised his hand for silence. "In 4 hours we give our answer, and I promise you all it's not the answer they're expecting." Outside, the sun continued to shine on Earth. Children played in parks. People went to work. Most had no idea that aliens had just demanded their surrender. And deep beneath the surface, in bunkers hidden from all detection, humanity's real military forces began to wake up. 12 hours before the aliens gave their ultimatum, Captain Kyle Brooks stood 2 miles beneath the ice of Antarctica. The base around him hummed with electricity. Thousands of thick cables ran along the walls like veins. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Site Zero was the most secret place on Earth. It didn't exist on any map. No satellite could see it. Even the scientists who worked there didn't know exactly where they were. They came in on submarines that traveled through underwater caves. The journey took 6 hours in complete darkness. Kyle was 35 years old with short brown hair and green eyes that missed nothing. He had been chosen for this job 10 years ago, pulled from the Navy SEALs after a mission that didn't officially happen. Now he commanded humanity's last hope. "Captain, the quantum field is stable," said Commander Amy Rodriguez. She was his second in command. A woman who could solve complex math in her head faster than most people could use a calculator. She stood before a wall of screens showing numbers that shifted every second. How many anchors are active? Kyle asked. All 9,000. They're spread from here to Neptune's orbit. When we flip the switch, they'll create a net of folded space around the entire solar system. Kyle nodded. The reality anchors were humanity's greatest achievement. Each one was the size of a school bus, invisible to every form of detection the Council had shown so far. They could bend space itself, making distances meaningless. In the next room, Dr. Paul Martinez bent over a microscope. He was studying tissue samples from a Council scout that had crashed on Earth 5 years ago. The aliens had come to retrieve their dead, but not before Paul's team had taken what they needed. Their biology is incredible, Paul said to his assistant, a young woman named Julie Foster. Silicon-based neural pathways that process information 10 times faster than our brains. But there's a weakness. What kind of weakness? Julie asked, adjusting her own microscope. They think in straight lines, always logical, always predictable. Their brains literally cannot process paradoxes. Show them something that shouldn't exist and they freeze up trying to understand it. Paul stood and stretched his back. He had been working for 20 hours straight. We've created a virus based on mathematical paradoxes. When it hits their computers, it will spread to any connected system, including the biological computers in their brains. That's terrifying, Julie said. That's the point. 3 rooms away, General Howard Stone watched a massive screen showing Mars. But this wasn't the Mars that telescopes on Earth could see. This showed the real Mars, where 3,000 human warships hid beneath holographic projections that made them look like mining stations. Report, Stone said to his aide. Lieutenant Carl Davis, all ships report ready, sir. The probability drives are charged. Weapons are hot. The crews have been training for this moment for 5 years. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering. They weren't built to travel through space like normal ships. Instead, they existed in multiple dimensions at once. They could be in one place, then instantly be somewhere else without traveling the distance between. The weapons were even stranger. Instead of lasers or missiles, they fired concentrated mathematics. Equations that deleted sections of reality. Numbers that made matter forget how to exist. The Council thinks we have 37 ships, Stone said. They're about to learn that humans have been lying since the day we learned they existed. Deep in another section of Site Zero, Dr. Susan Kelly worked with her team of physicists. They had spent 10 years studying a piece of Council technology, a small device that had been left behind by accident during a diplomatic visit. It's a reality stabilizer, Susan explained to the newest member of her team, Dr. Rob Turner. It keeps their ships locked in one dimension. Without it, their probability shields collapse. And we can disrupt it? Rob asked. Better. We can reverse it. Make their ships exist in all dimensions at once. They'll be everywhere and nowhere. Completely helpless, the entire base was like this. Level after level of scientists and soldiers working on projects that shouldn't be possible. Humans had taken every piece of alien technology they could find and improved it in ways the Council would never expect. In the command center, Admiral Morrison appeared on the main screen. He was still at the UN, but he had a direct link to Site Zero. Status report, Morrison said. Kyle stepped forward. All systems green, Admiral. The reality anchors are in position. The fleet is ready. The virus is prepared. And Project Sunshine? Morrison asked. Kyle smiled. Ready to go. Though I still think that's a stupid name for a weapon that terrifying. Project Sunshine was humanity's final surprise. If everything else failed, they would activate it. It would turn Earth's sun into a weapon that could destroy anything within 50 light years. The Council's ships, their home worlds, everything. Humans would die too, but they would take their enemies with them. Let's hope we don't need it, Morrison said. I'm about to go into the meeting where they'll deliver their ultimatum. You know what to do when they finish. Yes, sir. The moment they give us a deadline, we start the countdown. The screen went dark. Amy walked over to Kyle. Do you think this will work? It has to. We've been planning for 30 years. Every war game, every simulation says we win. The simulations could be wrong. Kyle looked at her. Then we improvise. Humans are good at that. In the biological lab, Paul made a discovery that made him gasp. Julie, look at this. She hurried over and looked at his screen. It showed the chemical composition of Council blood. They have no immunity to capsaicin, Paul said, excitement in his voice. The chemical that makes peppers hot. To them, it would be like acid. So we could defeat the alien invaders with hot sauce. Julie laughed. I'm adding it to the list of possible weapons. You never know what might be useful. Throughout Site Zero, similar discoveries were being made. Every human scientist had been given the same instruction. Find any weakness, no matter how small. Find any advantage, no matter how strange. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They saw humanity's chaos as weakness. They didn't understand that chaos bred creativity. Every human thought differently. Every human had unique ideas. And when those ideas combined, they created solutions no single species could imagine. General Stone received a message from one of the hidden ships near Jupiter. Sir, the Council fleet just entered sensor range. 800 ships just like intelligence predicted. Ship types: 5 planet crackers, 40 dreadnoughts, 300 cruisers, and the rest are support vessels. Stone studied the tactical display. The Council fleet moved in perfect formation. Every ship exactly the same distance from every other ship. It was beautiful in its precision, and that precision would be their downfall. They fly like machines, Stone said. No variation, no creativity. When we attack, they won't know how to respond to our chaos. Dr. Kelly's team made another breakthrough. They discovered that Council shields operated on a frequency that matched the vibration of their homeworld. Change that frequency and the shields would treat their own ships as enemies. It's so simple, Rob said. They never thought anyone would figure it out. That's because they think everyone thinks like them, Susan replied. Logical, predictable. They can't imagine a species that would look at their shield technology and think, what if we made it backwards? As the hours passed, more preparations were made. Emergency bunkers across Earth were quietly activated. Military forces were placed on highest alert without public announcement. Hospitals prepared for casualties without knowing why. Kyle stood in the main control room watching dozens of screens showing different aspects of their defense. Everything was ready. The quantum anchors hummed with power. The fleet waited in silence. The virus was loaded into transmission arrays. You know what the funny thing is? Amy said, standing beside him. What? They think they're doing us a favor, offering us peace and order. They genuinely believe they're the good guys. Kyle nodded. Most conquerors do. They always think they're bringing civilization to the barbarians. What does that make us? Kyle thought for a moment. The barbarians who learned to build better weapons while pretending to still use sticks and stones. A timer appeared on the main screen. 24 hours and counting down. All stations, this is Captain Brooks, Kyle said into the communication system. The Council has delivered their ultimatum. We have 24 hours before we show them what humanity is really capable of. Final preparations begin now. Throughout Site Zero, throughout the hidden fleet, throughout secret bases on Earth and the Moon and Mars, hundreds of thousands of humans prepared for war. They had waited 30 years for this moment. The Council wanted humanity to surrender or die. Humanity had prepared a third option. President Emma Washington stood in the command center beneath Colorado mountains. The room was carved from solid rock 500 feet below ground. It could survive a direct nuclear strike. Around her, the leaders of every major nation had gathered. They had been brought here in secret over the past 10 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, Emma said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. In 1 hour we respond to the Council's ultimatum. I need you all to understand what's about to happen. The Russian Premier, Viktor Volkov, crossed his arms. You kept this from us. 30 years of lies, not lies, Emma replied. Protection. If everyone knew, someone would have talked. The Council would have found out. They would have attacked before we were ready. And now we are ready? Asked President Liu Wei of China. Admiral Morrison entered the room, followed by Dr. Chang. We're more than ready. Dr. Chang, please explain. Lisa connected her tablet to the main screen. It showed the solar system with the Council fleet marked in red. The Council has 800 ships. We have 3,000, but numbers don't matter in this fight. How can numbers not matter? Asked Prime Minister James Harrison of Britain. Because our ships don't fight like theirs, Lisa explained. Watch, she played a simulation. A single human ship faced 10 Council vessels. The alien ships fired energy beams that should have destroyed it. But the human ship split into 10 copies of itself. Each copy was real. Each could fire. The Council ships tried to target them all but couldn't tell which was the original. Probability drives, Lisa said. Our ships exist in multiple realities at once. The Council's sensors can't track something that's everywhere and nowhere. This is insane. said Chancellor Erich Muller of Germany. You're talking about breaking the laws of physics. No, Lisa smiled. We're using laws of physics the Council hasn't discovered yet. They've been spacefaring for 10,000 years. They stopped innovating 5,000 years ago. They found technology that worked and never changed it. Humans have been in space for less than 200 years. We're still creating new things. Admiral Morrison took over. The plan is simple. When we respond to their ultimatum, we'll send a virus hidden in the transmission. It will shut down their systems for exactly 10 minutes and 37 seconds. During that time, we attack. What if it doesn't work? Asked President Santos of Brazil. Then we move to Plan B, Morrison said. And if that doesn't work, Plan C, we have plans all the way to Plan Z, and if all of those fail, we have Project Sunshine. Which is? Victor asked. Morrison's face became grim. We turn our sun into a bomb that destroys everything within 50 light years. If humanity dies, we take them with us. The room went silent. Emma spoke again. I need unanimous agreement. Every nation must stand together. No exceptions. Are you with us? One by one, hands raised. Some quickly, some slowly. But in the end, every leader in the room raised their hand. Then let's make history, Emma said. In space, aboard the Council flagship, Supreme Chancellor Zixatheta waited. Its tentacles moved in patterns that showed impatience in its species. Around it, the other Council members watched Earth through their sensors. No military movement, reported the Vorthak representative. No preparation for evacuation. They seem to be doing nothing. They're discussing surrender, Zixatheta said. They always discuss. Humans talk more than any species we've encountered. They'll talk until the last moment, then surrender. The spider-like Krixmar made a grinding sound that was its version of laughter. Remember the Jelani? They talked for 23 hours, then surrendered with 17 minutes remaining. Humans are weaker than the Jelani, the smoke being called Etherian said. They still fight among themselves. They can't even agree on basic medical care for their people. How could they agree on resistance? Back on Earth, Kyle Brooks stood before the main transmission array. It was a massive dish pointed directly at the Council fleet. Hidden in its signal would be Dr. Martinez's virus, disguised as normal communication protocols. Everyone ready? Kyle asked his team. Virus loaded and checked 3 times. Paul reported. Fleet standing by, General Stone confirmed from his command ship. Reality anchors powered and waiting. Amy added. Emergency bunkers sealed, someone else reported. 15 million people safely underground. Kyle looked at the clock. 5 minutes until the deadline. President Washington appeared on his screen. Captain Brooks, you have a go. Send our response. Kyle turned to the communication technician, a young man named Sam Cooper. Sam, put Admiral Morrison on the main channel. Morrison appeared on screens throughout human space. He was back at the UN, standing at the same podium where he'd received the ultimatum. But now he wasn't alone. Behind him stood representatives from every nation on Earth. They were all smiling. Open channel to the Council fleet, Morrison said. Channel open, Admiral. Sam confirmed. The main screen split. One half showed Morrison. The other showed Zixatheta. Supreme Chancellor, Morrison began. Earth has considered your offer, and? Zixatheta's voice was confident, already celebrating victory. Morrison smiled. It was a small smile, barely moving his lips, but his eyes sparkled with something the aliens couldn't identify. Earth declines your offer, Morrison said simply. Silence. You decline? Zixatheta's tentacles stopped moving. You choose destruction? No, Morrison said. We choose option 3. There is no option 3. Surrender or die. Those are your only choices. Morrison's smile grew wider. That's where you're wrong. He nodded to someone off-screen. The image changed. Instead of Morrison's face, the Council saw something else. Every human in the UN Assembly Hall was smiling. 3,000 faces, all showing the same expression. What is this? Zixatheta demanded. What does this mean? The image changed again. Now it showed crowds in Times Square. Thousands of people all smiling at the sky. Another change. London, Moscow, Beijing, Tokyo, Sydney, Cairo, Rio, every major city on Earth. Millions of humans all smiling. This is Earth's answer, Morrison's voice said. We decline your offer. We reject your ultimatum. And now, Supreme Chancellor, you're about to learn why humanity survived on a death world. The transmission ended. On the Council flagship, alarms started screaming. Every screen went dark, then filled with scrolling symbols that made no sense. "What's happening?" Zix Theta roared. "System failure," the Vorthak tech specialist reported. "Something in their transmission. It's in our computers. Purge it!" "I can't. It's not code. It's mathematics that don't make sense. Our systems are trying to solve it. But the solution keeps changing." The virus spread through the Council fleet in seconds. It jumped from ship to ship through their quantum communication network. Every computer, every system, every artificial intelligence suddenly faced the same impossible equation. What is the last digit of pi? For humans, the answer was simple: there isn't one. Pi goes on forever. For the Council's logical systems, this was impossible. Everything must have an end. Their computers kept calculating, searching for a final number that didn't exist. "Weapons offline," someone screamed. "Engines not responding. Shields failing?" Kyle watched from Earth as the Council fleet went dark. 800 ships suddenly helpless. "Now," he said. 3,000 human ships dropped their disguises. They appeared around the Council fleet like wolves surrounding sheep. But they didn't look like ships. They looked like nightmares given form. Some seemed to be made of liquid metal. Others phased in and out of reality. A few appeared to be flying mathematical equations. Captain Brooks's flagship, the Perseverance, materialized directly in front of the Council command ship. It was impossible. Nothing could teleport that precisely. "This is Captain Kyle Brooks of Earthship Perseverance," he transmitted. "Your weapons are offline. Your engines are dead. Your shields are down. You have two choices. Surrender, or we demonstrate what our weapons can do." Inside the Council ship, Zix Theta's tentacles turned a color that meant terror in its species. "This is impossible. You're primitives. You can't have this technology." The Etherian was flickering rapidly, its form unstable. "They're using probability manipulation. But that's theoretical. No species has ever made it work. Humans did." Morrison's voice came through their speakers somehow, even though their communications were supposed to be offline. "We made it work because we're not logical. We're creative. We looked at impossible math and said, what if we tried it anyway?" General Stone gave orders from his command ship. "All vessels, demonstration pattern Alpha. Let's show them what we can do." One human ship fired at an asteroid nearby. The weapon looked like a beam of equations. When it hit the asteroid, the rock didn't explode. It simply stopped existing. The atoms forgot how to be atoms. The space where the asteroid had been became undefined. Another ship fired at empty space. Reality cracked like glass. For a moment, the Council could see through to another dimension where physics worked differently. Then the crack sealed itself. A third ship didn't fire a weapon at all. It just projected a field around a Council cruiser. Inside the field, time ran backwards. The crew watched in horror as their ship unbuilt itself, returning to raw materials. "Stop!" Zix Theta screamed. "We surrender. The Council surrenders." Kyle smiled, though the aliens couldn't see it. The Galactic Council chambers on Zentari Prime had never been so quiet. The 12 species representatives sat in their designated zones, each one processing what they had just witnessed through their quantum surveillance systems. The massive spherical room, floating in the void between three stars, was usually filled with debate and discussion. Now it was silent as a tomb. The Vorthak representative's crystalline form had turned a deep purple, the color of profound shock in its species. Its multifaceted surface reflected the horror on every other face in the chamber. The human fleet hadn't just defeated the Council armada. They had made it look easy. "Play it again," whispered the Julani representative, a being that looked like living water contained in a humanoid shape. "Show me the part where their ship split into multiple copies." The replay appeared in the center of the chamber. They watched as a single human vessel became 10, then 20, then 50 identical ships, all firing weapons that shouldn't exist. The Council fleet's targeting computers had crashed trying to determine which ship was real. The answer, impossibly, was that they were all real. The Krixamar's many legs clicked against the floor in agitation. "This violates everything we know about physics. Matter cannot exist in multiple locations simultaneously." "Apparently it can," said the Etherian, its smoky form swirling with anxiety. "The humans found a way." Elder Zyphron of the Melody, whose species had founded the Council 10,000 years ago, finally spoke. Its voice sounded like a symphony of strings. "We must understand how this happened. How did a species that achieved spaceflight only 2 centuries ago develop technology we deemed impossible. A new hologram appeared in the chamber. It was Dr. Lisa Chang, somehow projecting herself directly into their most secure facility. The security systems hadn't even detected the intrusion. "Good afternoon, council members," Lisa said calmly. "I thought you might have questions." The Vorthak representative shattered partially from shock, then reformed itself. "How are you here? This chamber is protected by 17 layers of quantum encryption. 18 layers, actually," Lisa corrected. "We added one of our own about 5 minutes ago." "You haven't noticed yet?" Elder Zyphron leaned forward, its ancient eyes studying the human. "Explain. How did your species accomplish this?" Lisa smiled, and several council members involuntarily moved back. They were learning to fear that expression. "You want to know our secret? It's simple. We never stopped thinking we were at war," Lisa said. "You gave us 30 years of peace, and we spent every second preparing for today. But we monitored you," the Julani protested. "We watched your development. You showed no signs of advanced technology. You saw what we wanted you to see," Lisa explained. She gestured, and images appeared around her. "You saw our old rockets launching satellites. You didn't see the probability drives hidden inside. You saw our wars and conflicts. You didn't see that every military exercise was actually training for fighting you. The images showed Earth's true history, secret meetings between sworn enemies, Russian and American scientists working together in hidden labs, Chinese and Indian engineers building ships in caverns beneath the Himalayas, European and African nations pooling resources for projects that officially never existed. Your greatest mistake," Lisa continued, "was judging us by your standards. You achieve unity through conformity. Every Vorthak thinks like every other Vorthak. Every Julani processes information the same way. You saw our diversity as weakness." President Emma Washington appeared beside Lisa's projection. The council members tensed, wondering how many humans could violate their security. 8 billion humans, Emma said, each one thinking differently, each one with unique ideas. A farmer in Nebraska wondered if space could be folded like paper. A child in Kenya asked why math had to make sense. A grandmother in Japan thought about existing in 2 places at once. Every wild idea, every impossible dream, we explored them all. "But the energy requirements," the Etherian said, its form flickering with confusion. "The power needed for probability drives would require a star's worth of energy." "By your calculations, yes," Lisa said. "But you calculate in base 10 mathematics. We found that base 17, using imaginary numbers as real values, reduces the energy requirement by 99%. The council members exchanged looks that transcended species barriers. They all shared the same thought. This made no sense. "That's impossible," the Krixmar stated. "Imaginary numbers cannot be used in real equations," and says who? Lisa asked. "You? Your scientists? The same ones who said faster than light travel could only be achieved through subspace. We found 17 different ways to break the light barrier. We just let you think we hadn't found any." Admiral Morrison joined the projection. The council members were beginning to understand that humanity could appear wherever they wanted, whenever they wanted. "Let me tell you what really frightens you," Morrison said. "It's not our technology. It's not our weapons. It's the fact that we developed all of this while you were watching and you never knew." He gestured and new images appeared. They showed council observation posts throughout human space. Each one had been compromised years ago. Your spy satellites? We've been feeding them false data for 20 years. Your infiltrators? We identified them on day 1 and gave them exactly the information we wanted you to have. Your deep space monitors? We've been editing their feeds in real time. The Melody Elder's harmonious voice became discordant. "You're saying everything we know about humanity is wrong?" "Not everything," Emma said. "We do fight among ourselves. We do have different beliefs. We are chaotic. But you never asked the important question. What happens when something threatens all of us?" The projections changed to show historical images. Humans working together during global disasters. Enemies becoming allies when faced with extinction. Nations that had been at war for generations, suddenly cooperating against a common threat. "We unite," Morrison said simply. "Every time. Without fail, our differences become our strength. Our chaos becomes creativity. Our conflicts become collaboration." The Vorthak representative had reformed itself into a defensive configuration. "What do you want from us?" Kyle Brooks appeared in the projection, and the council members visibly flinched. They recognized him as the captain who had disabled their entire fleet. "We want you to understand," Kyle said. "The galaxy doesn't need an empire. It doesn't need conformity. It needs diversity. Different species, different ideas, different ways of thinking. You're conquering us with philosophy?" the Krixmar asked, confusion evident in its clicking mandibles. "We're not conquering you at all," Kyle replied. "Your fleet is disabled, not destroyed. Your crews are unharmed. We could have killed everyone, but we didn't. That's not who we are." "Then who are you?" Elder Zephyrin asked. The human projections looked at each other. Then Lisa spoke. "We're the species you should have invited to join you instead of trying to conquer," she said. "We're the people who looked at an impossible universe and decided to make it possible. We're the civilization that turns enemies into friends, problems into opportunities, and limitations into launching points." The council chambers fell silent again. Then something unprecedented happened. The Etherian, a species known for never showing emotion, began to pulse with what its kind considered laughter. "We spent 10,000 years conquering the galaxy," it said. "We thought we were bringing order to chaos. But the humans conquered us in 6 hours, and they're trying to make us their friends. The question is," Emma said, "will you let us?" Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring through Centauri Prime. The defensive screens activated, showing an impossible sight. Earth's moon was moving. Not being pushed or pulled, but moving under its own power. "What have you done?" the Julani demanded. Dr. Chang smiled again. "Oh, that? We turned our moon into a ship. We thought we'd bring it along for negotiations. It makes a good meeting room." The council watched in horrified fascination as Earth's moon, hollowed out and converted into the largest vessel in galactic history, approached their capital. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was completely insane. It was human. "You turned a celestial body into a spacecraft?" the Vorthak asked weakly. "We also put a Starbucks on it," Morrison added. "You haven't lived until you've had a latte while looking at 3 stars. The council members looked at each other. They had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They had conquered hundreds of species. They had considered themselves the peak of evolution. And they had just been defeated by a species that put a coffee shop on a weaponized moon. "I need to contact my government," the Julani said quietly. "They need to know about this." "Already done," Lisa said cheerfully. "We sent information packets to all your homeworlds an hour ago. Your populations are watching this meeting live. We thought transparency was important." The horror deepened. Not only had the humans defeated them, they had broadcast the defeat to every council world. There would be no hiding this, no spin. "No propaganda to soften the blow, why?" Elder Zifrin asked. "Why humiliate us?" "We're not humiliating you," Emma said gently. "We're educating you. Your people deserve to know the truth. They deserve to know that there's another way to live in this galaxy, a way that doesn't require conquest or submission. And if we refuse your offer of friendship?" Captain Kyle Brooks stood in the main hall of what used to be the Council's flagship. The walls that once displayed star maps of conquered worlds now showed something different. They showed trade routes, cultural exchange programs, joint research facilities. The Empire of Conquest was becoming an alliance of equals. It had been 6 hours since the Council fleet surrendered. In those 6 hours, humanity had revolutionized 10,000 years of galactic politics. Supreme Chancellor Zixis Theta floated in the center of the room, its tentacles drooping in defeat. Around it, the other Council species representatives waited for terms of surrender. They expected demands for resources, for territory, for slaves. That's what conquest meant in their experience. "So," Zix Theta said, its voice heavy with resignation, "what are your demands?" Kyle looked at Amy Rodriguez, who was trying not to laugh. They had expected this question. "We want you to have dinner with us," Kyle said. Silence. "Dinner?" Zixitheta's translator struggled with the word. "You mean food consumption?" "Exactly. We brought chefs from Earth. They've been studying your biological requirements. We have foods from all council species ready. We eat, we talk, we get to know each other." The Krixmar's mandibles clicked in confusion. "You defeated the most powerful fleet in the galaxy to invite us to dinner?" "Well, when you put it that way, it sounds weird," Amy said. "But yes, dinner, discussion, maybe some coffee after. We have this great coffee from Colombia that you have to try. Well, those of you who can process caffeine." The council members looked at each other, unable to process what was happening. They had prepared for execution. They had prepared for imprisonment. They had prepared for slavery. They had not prepared for hospitality. Dr. Paul Martinez entered the room, followed by a team of humans carrying sealed containers. Before dinner, though, we need to give you all something. Poison? The Jelani asked, its liquid form rippling with fear. Medicine, Paul corrected. We've been studying your biologies for years. Each of your species has diseases you've been fighting for centuries. We created cures. He opened one container and pulled out a vial of blue liquid for the crystal decay. Your species has lost millions to it. This cure will save them all. The Vorthak representative's form shifted through 17 different colors, the equivalent of stunned disbelief. That's impossible. We've tried for 3,000 years to cure crystal decay. You tried using silicon-based solutions, Paul explained. We used carbon-based proteins modified with quantum markers. Different approach, different result. He pulled out another vial, this one containing what looked like golden sand. For the Etherians, your species has been losing cohesion for the last 500 years. This will stabilize your quantum matrix permanently. The Etherian's smoky form suddenly became more solid, more defined. You would give this to us? Your enemies? You're not our enemies, President Emma Washington said, entering the room. You're our neighbors who made a bad first impression. She was followed by representatives from every Earth nation. They spread throughout the room, each one approaching different council members, not as conquerors to the conquered, but as equals. We have a proposal, Emma continued. Not terms of surrender. A proposal for the future. Admiral Morrison activated a holographic display. It showed the galaxy, but not as the Council had mapped it. This showed connections between worlds, lines of communication and trade that could exist. The reformed Galactic Alliance, Morrison said. Every species maintains complete autonomy. Every world keeps its own government, but we share knowledge, resources, and protection. And if a species refuses to join, 6 Theta asked, then they don't join, Kyle said simply. We're not conquerors. We don't force anyone to do anything. But the benefits of joining, he smiled. Let me show you. The display changed. It showed medical technology that could extend the Julani lifespan by double. Agricultural techniques that could feed the Vorthak's overpopulated worlds. Energy systems that could power entire civilizations without environmental damage. We developed all of this in 30 years, Lisa Chang said, joining the group. Imagine what we could do together in 100 years. 1,000. The Melody Elder, who had remained silent, finally spoke. You would share this freely? Not freely, Emma corrected. In exchange, you share your knowledge with us and others. The Vorthak's crystal technology could revolutionize our computers. The Julani's water purification systems could save billions. The Etherian's energy manipulation could solve power crises across the galaxy. Together, Morrison added, we could achieve things none of us could accomplish alone. The Krixmar clicked its legs thoughtfully. What about our military forces? Combine them, Kyle said. Not for conquest, but for protection. There are threats out there bigger than any of us. Black holes that could swallow systems. Rogue artificial intelligences. Species from other galaxies that might not be friendly. He brought up new images. Long-range scouts had detected signs of life from the Andromeda galaxy. Not friendly signals, but military formations heading their way. They were still centuries out, but they were coming. You knew about this? 6 Theta asked. We've known for 5 years. That's why we pushed our technology so hard. We knew that someday this galaxy would need to stand united against something worse. The council members absorbed this information. The humans hadn't just been preparing to fight the council. They had been preparing to protect everyone. I need to tell you something, Dr. Martinez said. The virus we used on your systems, it's already deleted. Your ships will be fully functional in about 10 minutes. You could attack us again if you wanted. Why would you restore our weapons? The Julani asked. Because we want allies, not prisoners, Kyle said. We want you to choose to work with us, not be forced to. A communication screen activated. It showed 17 worlds that had been under council control. On each one, celebrations were happening. Humans had already arrived and were distributing food, medicine, and technology. But more importantly, they were distributing hope. Your subject worlds, Emma said. We've offered them the same choice we're offering you. Join the Alliance as equals or remain independent. So far, all 17 have chosen to join. 6 Theta's tentacles moved in what humans had learned was surprise. They chose to join you over us? They chose freedom over subjugation, Morrison explained. They chose partnership over servitude. The same choice we're offering you. The room fell quiet. Then something unexpected happened. The Vorthak representative began to sing. It was a sound like crystal chimes in harmony, beautiful and sad at the same time. That's the song of ending. The Julani whispered, sung when one age ends and another begins. Other council members joined in, each adding their species' version of the song. The Etherian created harmonics that shouldn't exist. The Krixmar added percussion with its legs. The Melody Elder wove it all together into something that transcended species barriers. When the song ended, Zix Theta straightened its form. The Galactic Council accepts your proposal. We will join your reformed Galactic Alliance. Cheers erupted from the humans, but Kyle raised his hand for silence. There's one more thing. We have a gift for each member species. Teams of humans brought in more containers. From them, they pulled out items that made the council members gasp. These are artifacts from your homeworlds, Amy explained. Items lost in your ancient wars. We found them and restored them. The Vorthak's first crystal, the Julani's origin pool, the Etherian's binding stone. We're returning them to you. The Vorthak representative carefully took the first crystal, a formation that hadn't been seen in 5,000 years. How did you find this? We're very good at finding things, Lisa said with a smile. We're also good at fixing things that are broken, like relationships between species. The dinner that followed was the strangest in galactic history. Humans and aliens, former enemies, sat together and shared food. They told stories. They laughed at translation errors. They found common ground in unexpected places. The Krixmar, it turned out, loved Earth music, especially heavy metal. The Julani were fascinated by human swimming techniques. The Etherian wanted to learn about human philosophy. The Vorthak discovered a passion for chess. As they ate and talked, the galaxy outside was changing. Human ships were already delivering probability drives to former council worlds. Medical stations were being established. Trade routes were being opened. I have a question, Zix Theta said to Kyle as they stood on the observation deck looking at the stars. When did you really start preparing for this? Kyle thought for a moment. The day we detected your first probe entering our system. We knew that someday someone would come. We just didn't know if they'd come in peace or war. So you prepared for both? We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. That's the human way. And if we had come in peace from the beginning? Kyle smiled. Then we would have shown you our peaceful innovations first. The medical technology, the agricultural advances, the energy solutions, the weapons would have stayed hidden until needed. Against the threat from Andromeda, among others. The universe is vast. There are wonders out there, but also dangers. Better to face them together than alone. Zix Theta's tentacles moved in what Kyle had learned was agreement. Your species is insane. You turned your moon into a